but it is a big racetrack, and it can be a momentum racetrack. And we were talking a little bit about yesterday. I feel like in the past, before we shifted so much with this new car, we wouldn't run the same line we are now. But the downshifting is really just recovering momentum and turning it into more of a straight, hard entry, lots of brake, and get it turned, and then try to put power down that way. A little less rhythm to it than in the past, I feel like. Not that I raced here in the past, but I have thousands of testing laps around here back in the day when that was still open. So it feels a little different nowadays, but it's just a tricky place.
Appreciate it.
What does it mean, the idea that next week, in the last couple of years, you have raced inside a stadium, on a dirt track, at a track that was once thought to be dead, at street course? I mean, you've been around this lineup for years ago. You knew what the schedule was going to be like a year or two in advance. So what's this like?
Yeah, there's I think it's been awesome for our sport to have the ability to adapt and change and go to some of these new venues, and I think that it's been positive overall. They're not all my favorite, but I like the fact that we're trying something and we're doing something different and getting the fans engaged in it. And if something isn't exactly what we hope for, then I think we also have the ability to pivot and move on. And I think that's what I like, that we're not so stuck in our ways, not in our old school ways. And what I'm gathering is we're not going to be stuck just because we made a change that doesn't have to stick around for 10 years, right? I think that's what will lend us to be able to be more flexible, to adapt, and keep our stuff relevant and new. And also, it's a good challenge for drivers, right? I mean, when you were racing growing up, you didn't typically go to the same short track every Saturday night. You started traveling around a little bit. You tried to learn and figure out how to run different places. And we traveled to 25 states racing growing up just to make sure we were at different kinds of racetracks, gathering skills at different places and figuring it out. And that's forcing all of us that are the best in our profession to do that at a lot of these venues. And we need that to keep everybody humble and honest. And I think it's showing good results.
Can you explain to me the challenge of qualifying next week? Because I think about you're going to have 50 minutes of practice. There's likely to be cautions. You're going to have full sessions. You're still learning the track. You guys are trying to get comfortable. May not get comfortable, and then you've got to go and rip off a lap. And if you mess up, you're going to start 25th, and your chances of anything good that day are really good. But it seems like you guys, as drivers, you guys face many challenges. But boy, this seems like there's a lot, even more so next week. Or am I wrong? So
no, you're right. If you go back to Sonoma, I got asked a question about why our Sonoma races seem to be cleaner than our COTA or our Indy. Our response was track limits were defined by dirt, right? You're not going to go out in dirt and make speed. We go to COTA and there's 3 times as much asphalt outside of the racing group as there is in, and that opens up a different mindset that takes on some of the craziness, for lack of a less polite term, and that's what creates some of the events that we've had road racing, and Sonoma doesn't allow that. Chicago's the same way, that your track limits are defined. The difference there is it's not dirt, it's not slower, it's you're out of the race done if you start going off it in big ways. So I think that it is going to be tricky, but I think it will also bring the mindset of the garage back to this is not a dive bomb 3 or 4 wide on entry. Chances of me wiping myself out in those scenarios is much higher than it would be at an Indy, where if you dive bomb 4 wide on the bottom, those 3 cars, they just spin out through the grass. You don't care, you made it. Seems to be the mindset. That won't be the case at Chicago. Everybody's going to bounce in, they're going to pinball together, and you will end up with 20 race cars throughout the field. So it should help everybody kind of rein it back in a little bit, more like our Sonoma. I also think that it's that unknown factor, and that 50 minutes of practice, there will be cautions. It will be a lot for the drivers to learn. My understanding is it's a limited change practice, so just like our 20-minute sessions don't get much. It's more the time for us to be able to learn the track as drivers and try and tweak on it to get it where we're happy. But it's hard for our teams to set everything up. We do so much of simulation when you're staring at that and thinking, how do you simulate a manhole cover in a straightaway, or how do you simulate bridge connections or seam? It's wild to think about what we're doing there, and I'm glad I'm not in one of their seats trying to figure this all out ahead of time.
What's that restart time? Because that's before 12.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you yet. I think it's pretty unanimous as a group to try and realize that we need to do something to make it cleaner than what we've had at Indy and Coda, and so I'm proud of everybody for coming together and doing that, and for NASCAR for really stepping up and making a change. I don't know how it plays out, but I think that it was asked for, and that I'm glad to try it. Hopefully make our racing better and a little bit cleaner while still giving good action.
Does the Chicago course remind you of any other road course you've raced at before?
Absolutely not. No, nothing about it is going to carry over in my eyes to somewhere I've been before. It's 90-degree corners. It's point and shoot. It's going to be rough, narrow. I don't know where you can even start to compare.
And then with your results on road courses over the past year, do you enter this weekend feeling like a favorite potentially?
I don't know about that, but I feel strong about it, and I know we're going to have good race cars, and I know our group's going to do a really good job. So, I don't know what to expect yet, but I know we will be fast there, and we will be a contender.
All right, thanks, Chris.